Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Stamp and Chat with Gina K. I am Gina, and I would like to welcome all of you from all over the US and all over the world. It's exciting to see so many of you here already this evening. So tonight, I'm going to show you a little coloring technique using Zig Clean Color brush markers. That's these markers right here. I also have the Arteza brush markers. They're very similar. And what I like about them, the Arteza ones, is the price. I mean, they are a very, very good price. So if you're in the market for a brush marker, but you don't want to spend a lot, these are a great value. These are an excellent quality marker, but these are pretty good too. So I'm going to just show you both of them in a little card project. But before I do that, I want to just talk about tonight's topic. And I told Tom, I said, he said, what's tonight's topic? So I can make a banner. And I said, tonight's topic is not caring. And he said, I don't like the way that sounds. So the topic is care about what matters. But the truth is, not caring about what other people think is the best choice you'll ever make. It looks like our picture is gone. So let's just hang on 1 second and see what's going on here. I'm going to just look real quick on Facebook and see. Let's see here. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know exactly what's going on, but we are trying our best to get the picture back.
It's in StreamYard.
It's in StreamYard?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're here. We're back?
Not on the phone, though.
Oh, not on the phone, though. Okay. All right, let's see what's going on. Okay, I do see this.
On Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have it on YouTube.
All right, so we don't know what's going on. We may not be streaming on YouTube. We're really trying, so I don't know. Tom, if you could switch over to the comments so we can see what people are saying. Yeah, so...
I keep getting knocked off on YouTube.
Okay. Well, I see people on YouTube saying hi, so I think some of them might be seeing our broadcast.
I have a picture, but the sound is off.
The sound is off.
You're fine on YouTube.
Okay. So let's just say this. If you're having trouble on YouTube, go out and come back in and see if that fixes the problem. And I'm sorry that this isn't going as smoothly as it usually is. Looks like everything is going good on Facebook, but the same thing. If you're having trouble, just go out and come back in, and a lot of times that will fix it. All right, so the topic is caring about what matters, and not caring what other people think is the best choice you'll ever make. Don't give too much of your time to things you can't change or people who won't change. And I see a lot of this going on Facebook, where people are kind of arguing over every little detail of everything that's going on in the world, whether to send the kids back to school, whether to wear a mask, whether the coronavirus is real or it's not real, and all kinds of things like that. But you have to remember that you can't, don't give too much of your time to the things that you can't change and the people who won't change. So that is the topic tonight. I do have a final quote for this evening. But in the meantime, I want to show you the brand new MISTI. I have it here on my desk. So let's go to the overhead. And I have the old MISTI here. I have just this to kind of cover my light. And then I have the new MISTI behind it. And I want to show you some of the cool new things about the MISTI. Now, that being said, if you have the old MISTI, it is still a fantastic tool, and there's no reason why you can't keep using it. But if you're in the market for a stamp positioner, the new MISTI is the ticket. And let me tell you what's changed. So you can see here on the old or original MISTI, it had very, very sharp corners here. These corners are all very sharp on the original MISTI. On the new MISTI, all of these corners are rounded. And that may not seem like a big thing, but these are actually very, very sharp. And when you're lifting that door up and down, you can catch yourself on the edges here, and it is a little bit sharp. So having that little bit of a beveled corner really makes a huge difference. The other thing, another thing that's really cool about it are the rulers. So you guys know that these rulers are actually tape. They're taped on and they're really nice. There's a little bit of, you know, it might not be exactly 4 inches. It might be 4 1/8 or just a little under that based on the tape. And if you did what I did and bought the replacement rulers for your MISTI, then definitely you can see I did not line them up perfectly. So my 4-inch mark really isn't 4 inches. The new MISTI, let me show you what they've done. So the new MISTI has, the rulers are like made of plastic and they're all engraved with all the numbers. So these don't peel off. These are really, really nice rulers and they're pretty much spot on. Okay, so another cool thing is they created this little area right here that's magnetic to hold your bar magnet. And all the new ones come with the bar magnet. Now, I did put purple tape on my bar magnet. You can put washi tape or any, you know, blue painter's tape, whatever you have, you can make your own little handle. And that does make it easy to pick the magnet up. But I love that there's a little storage spot for it. And the reason why I like that is I know that you can store your magnet for your MISTI right on here, but it does leave a little dent sometimes in your mat. So it is really nice to have kind of a little place to keep it safe. Okay, the other thing, and one of the big things that I love is you guys know that I always make a little purple tape handle so I can lift the door. And especially when you're using the wreath builder and you're lifting the door over and over and over again, it's nice to have a little handle. Well, the new MISTI actually has a handle and it's right here. It's just overlapped enough that it's very easy to just grab it and open it and close it. So I love that. I think that that was a really, really nice upgrade. Now, one thing that a lot of people were asking is, does the mat still work if you have the old mouse pad? And here is the old mouse pad, and yep, it fits right in there. Again, I highly recommend whatever mat you're using that you put a little bit of purple tape down first or washi tape. And then when you put your mat in there, just press that down. This way the mat won't shift around. And let's see. So there's something going on with YouTube.
Both of them are having problems.
Oh,
now.
no.
People are going out and coming back in and trying, and it's like, I can't get on YouTube.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry, guys, if you are having trouble tonight. I don't know if we can go out and come back in. We might lose. We'll probably lose our broadcast if we do that. So that might not be a good thing for us to do. Yes, you're right. Somebody just said that the magnets stick to my bracelets, and they do. They absolutely do. So
It's like a regional thing. Some people are doing fine.
yeah, I think it might be a regional thing. There might be some internet problems, especially if you're somewhere on the East Coast with all of the hurricane leftover stuff. I know some people had some problems with oh, and some people left YouTube and came on Facebook and it's working. And that you can certainly do too. We are, if you go to the Gina K Designs Facebook page, not the group, go right to the Facebook page, Gina K Designs Facebook page. Then you can interact with us. You can make comments and all of that. If you watch it in the group, you can watch, but I don't think you can make comments. Okay, so tonight what we're going to do is we're going to play with some of these water brush markers. Now these markers are all basically watercolor markers. So they have watercolor paint inside, and instead of being like a traditional marker, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Let's see what happens. Hopefully I won't throw our whole broadcast off, but I want to show you this up close. So I'll just take this marker, and if you can see here, this is a brush tip. So if I squeeze it out, you see how the bristles, it's actually a brush. It's not like a typical marker that just has a nib. It is actually a brush with separate hairs, which is kind of cool because it's like a watercolor paintbrush all in the marker. Now, the Arteza markers are the same. So let me show you again. Now there, you can see how much longer their brush is, but it's the same kind of thing. It is a brush. So you can see if I twirl it there, you see the bristles all coming apart there. It is a brush as well. And that is watercolor paint right in there. Okay, so that's what makes these markers a little bit different than, say, a Tombow water-based marker. Although you can watercolor with a Tombow marker, if you want something that's smooth like a brush, you might be better off scribbling the Tombow marker onto a block and adding a little bit of water and picking it up with a paintbrush. These are actually each individual paintbrushes. So that's kind of cool. Now, when it comes to working with this kind of marker, I really prefer using watercolor paper. So the watercolor cardstock that I'm going to use, this is the Tim Holtz cardstock. And if you've never used the Tim Holtz cardstock, the one thing that I really like about it is it's got a rough side, but it's also got a smooth side, and you can use either side. So that's kind of a cool thing, that you can use either side of this. So if you like that more traditional watercolor look where it's really rough and stipply, then use the rough side. If you like more of a cardstock look, use the smooth side, but you can still watercolor with it and it won't pill and it won't be so warpy like regular cardstock. So I am just going to say one more time, I know that some of you, there might be an area of the country that is just having some problems with social media. I notice every once in a while I have trouble with Facebook and Instagram and everything all at once. And some people are having trouble with YouTube tonight. Some people are having trouble with Facebook. But you can always try going to the other one if you're having trouble with one. Now, I know a lot of you use your MISTI this way. I like to use my MISTI this way, like I'm opening a book. I know it makes the rulers kind of backwards, but I still like using it this way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the rough side of this cardstock. And the stamp set that I'm going to use tonight is, and I've used it a lot before, it's the You Make Me Smile mini stamp set. I really like this one for watercoloring, and I like it for colored pencils too. I do have a sample to show you of this one. This is Rose Bouquet. So both of these are kind of rosy kind of flowers, but this one is a much more traditional style rose, and this one is a more whimsical style rose. So I'm going to color this one for you, and then I'm going to show you one that I colored earlier using this. Okay, now, full disclosure, full disclaimer here. I am not an artist, so my way of coloring is going to be a very easy, simple way of coloring. And you don't have to worry too much about having any art skills at all. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this daisy here. This is from the Elegant Aster set because I wanted to show you the technique that I'm going to use for tonight. And I thought it would be easier for you to see in black and white. So I'm going to ink this up with amalgam black ink. Now, amalgam black ink is the black ink that I use for watercolor when I want to watercolor on black. It is an ink that dries fairly quickly, and you can use it with any coloring medium. So that means you can use it with watercolor, you can use it with Copic markers, you can use it with colored pencils and Gamsol, and it will not smear. A few of you have said that you've had some smearing problems with it, but I don't think it's the ink, I think it's the weather. If you're in a very humid climate, sometimes it's not as easy for the ink to dry. And this is very, very bumpy paper. So I'm going to try to stamp this a second time. I'm hoping it'll stamp right on the same spot. Oh, look at how I got ink everywhere. Let's see if that's okay. Yeah, that's better. And I will clean off my new MISTI here. I don't want that ink all over. And I always clean my stamps right away with the amalgam ink, and this way they don't really stain. Sometimes it leaves just a very, very pale, pale gray haze, but nothing that you can't see through. Okay, so what I want to show you is, and I'm not going to give this a minute to dry. I'm just going to use my heat tool and just dry it. So I see a question there about what kind of water do I use to watercolor? Well, again, I am not being an artist, I didn't know that there was a difference, but I just use plain old tap water if I'm watercoloring. But with the zig markers, I don't even use water. You can use water, but I don't use water. And I'll show you. I do have the Tim Holtz Distress Sprayer here. And let me grab my block. I'm just going to put a little bit of water right on my block here so I can pick up some of this water. You see, I just sprayed a little right there. And I do have one of the Arteza water brushes. I tend to not fill my water brushes with water, although that's probably an easier way to do it. But I feel like I have a little bit more control when I actually just dip the bristles into water. I did buy a couple little paintbrushes the other day. Alicia and I went to the art store and I couldn't help myself. So I'm going to be trying those. But I want to show you how I blend using these markers. So I'm going to use a red here. This is just called red, and this one is just called yellow. It's number 20 red and number 50 yellow. And so the way I like to blend with these markers is I will just color like a little bit of red like that. Okay. And then I'll color a little bit of yellow coming from this end. And then I will blend them together. And you see how that color is just blending? It's because it's watercolor. And then I like to have like a little thing to just brush off my brush. And you can see how that just blends so nicely. Now, if you don't get enough of a blend, you can always either take a water brush and just dip, a paintbrush and just try to thin the color out a little bit and see if you can get a better blend. But if you don't get the blend that you want, then go with a color that's somewhere in between. Here's an orange. Just going to add a little orange in there. And then you can go back in with a little bit more yellow. And so you can see they're pretty easy to blend. I wouldn't worry too much about, it looking absolutely perfect. I kind of like watercolor that looks a little bit more like you see the red, you see the orange, you kind of see where they overlap. And that is a watercolor technique. I've seen people do that where they let the color dry first and then they layer on top of it. And if you don't, pick the color up right away, or you don't blend the color right away, you actually kind of get more of an overlap rather than a blend. Now you can see if you add water, it's going to thin out the color. So that will give you a different color than the original color. So I'm going to add some of the darker red here, and then just add the thinned out red to be my blended color. You can go back and forth between them. And then a little water in there to soften the line. So lots of different ways to paint with these. But I'm going to show you what I like to do now. I'm going to pick a couple of blues here to work with. So I'm going to pick this one. I just love this one. I should probably show you the Arteza ones too. Let me do an orange into a yellow with the Arteza. So these are a little bit different. Not much, but a little bit different. They have a different feel when you lay the color down. Certainly still easy to work with, but you really kind of have to work them a little bit more than you do with the zigs. So I kind of go back and forth between them. There we go. And you can see that start to blend. So they still blend really nicely, but They just require a little bit more working back and forth. And if you catch them while they're wet, they tend to blend a little bit better and more quickly. So you can see that. Okay. So, but both markers are really good. I bought all the Arteza markers because they have different colors than the zigs, and I mix them. So you can mix both markers together and just have a million more colors that way. Now, here is a color called turquoise green, and then I have a couple different blues to mix it with. I have haze blue, and then I have, this one doesn't have a name, shadow mauve. Now, that is not a mauve, but it's called shadow mauve. And I also have this English lavender. So I want to look at each one of these colors and how they blend together. So there is the turquoise. And now this one is the haze blue. So that's a pretty blend. I like to just look at the colors first. But remember, if you're going to check them first, check them on the same cardstock that you're going to use for your project. So the next color is the shadow mauve. I guess that's kind of, it's got a little pink to it, but it's mostly purple. I think that's a little bit too close for me. Yeah. I like this one, but I think I'm going to like this one the most. This is, well, the haze blue I like. Let me try the, did shadow mauve. Let me try the English lavender.
Anne wants to know how you store the zigs.
You know,
is recommended, vertical, horizontal? I
store them on their side, but that's just because that is the kind of container that I have. I think if you store them, you know, face down, then the brushes are going to be the most juicy. But I have not seen them, you know, any recommendations for how to store them. So I store mine on their side, though. I kind of store all my pens that way, and I feel like they kind of even out a little bit that way, especially if they're dual-ended like the Tombos or the Copics. Okay, so I think I like this one the best. So this is, oh, oh, thank you. Thank you for noticing. I'll just move that out of the way. I told you guys the other night, I bought these bracelets when Tom and I were camping. We went to this little rock shop and I bought these bracelets, and it's really cool. They have magnets. It's a great clasp because I can do it by myself, but honestly, everything sticks to them. I was making toast and I put my arm down and it clunked right onto the toaster too. Everything sticks to them. Okay, so I think I'm going to go with the turquoise green, and I'm going to go with this really soft haze blue. I really like that one. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I want to do something that looks a little bit more like no-line coloring, but I do not know how to do no-line coloring well at all. I'm practicing, but there's no way I'm going to do that for you guys until I at least know what I'm doing. So I'm going to use the embossing magic pad, and I'm going to emboss the flowers in white first. Okay, so let's get this magnet on here. And I'm going to get the You Make Me Smile stamp set. I've been using this one in a couple different videos, so hopefully some of you have this one. And if you don't, we do have some of this in stock.
Request to zoom out a little bit. Zoom
out? Okay, yeah, I can do that. Sure. Actually, probably go up a little higher too. Hopefully that's better for everybody. Okay. So you can use any embossing ink you want. I'm going to use some Versamark here. And I want to really get this stamp very inky, and I need to get good contact with the paper because this is really bumpy paper. Okay. And I'm going to place that there. I'm going to trim this paper down after I'm done. And I'm going to use my microfiber cloth to really press because I don't have long sleeves.
What kind of paper is that?
This is the Tim Holtz watercolor paper. Okay. I think that is good. Okay. Now I'm going to get some of my white embossing powder here. And I'm going to, hopefully I got a good impression here. Looks like it. You can kind of, you guys probably can't see that at all. It's probably just a big white blob. But I'm just looking at it, and it looks like I've got good coverage of embossing powder here. Okay. Just wanted to blow away the excess, and then I'm going to heat this up with my heat tool. And I'm going to keep this a little bit away from the MISTI because I don't want to melt my new MISTI. To watch this, it's actually the Gina K Designs Facebook page. So not the Stamp TV friends. If they want to comment, it's probably playing right now in the Facebook group as well. But, oh gosh, I'm sorry guys. I don't know what's going on. It never fails. YouTube or Facebook. Somewhere there's a problem. Okay. So now this is very hard for me to see, and I don't know if it's hard for you to see, but you might be able to see a little bit of the glare there, but it is difficult to see. And if it's difficult to see, it's difficult to color, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me find a piece of cardstock just to clean this brush off a little bit. Okay. I have a sponge dauber here, and of course you can use a blending brush if you want for this. And I'm going to use a little bit of sea glass ink, just a little bit. I'm going to get it on here. I'm going to test it first on my little test piece. Okay, so that, you know what? I'm not going to use that because that looks very green. I'm going to use a blending brush. And let's see how that looks. Hopefully that'll look a little more blue. Yes, that looks a little more blue. Okay, I must have some yellow ink on there or something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to very lightly go over this design. Not heavy, but lightly. And what that's doing is that's enabling me to see the design a little bit more, but it's also going to give me a really cool haze around the outside of the design. So let's get a little more ink on there.
Are the sponge daubers out of stock, you know? Or?
Oh gosh, we had just gotten like 5 huge cases of them in, but they might be because there were a lot of people on the wait list. And what's funny is, you know, we look at the wait list to order, but then by the time the product comes in, it's like 3 times as many people on the wait list. And we just never know. We never know who's going to be wanting what. So we're trying our best, but we do have more of those coming. I know that. They always, as soon as it gets down to a certain level, it triggers that we need to order. I get an email notification. Okay. So now hopefully you can see that a little bit better. Oh, good. I'm glad some of you came back to Facebook if you had trouble on YouTube. That's a bummer. I don't know why it's doing that. So now I'm going to just rub away the excess here. And then I'm going to start with, I'm going to use these 2 colors. I'm going to use the haze blue and I'm going to use the turquoise green. And I'm going to start by adding just a little bit of haze blue at the bottom of the petal. And then I'm going to bring that up with the haze blue. Add a little more. Okay. All right. So you can see I'm just going back and forth between the two markers. A little bit of the turquoise green and then a little bit of the haze blue. And if you go outside the lines, you can go in with a little bit of water and clean that up. And then sometimes I'll just take my microfiber cloth and I'll just dab on it, and then it gets it off of the actual lines. Because sometimes you'll see it and you'll be like, oh, it's sitting on the line, but it doesn't penetrate the embossing powder, so it won't stay there.
How do you know what colors to start with?
Well, I just try a dark and a light version of the same color. How do I know what colors to start with? I start with a dark and a light version of the same color, and I just see how they blend and how they look together. And a lot of it has to do with kind of what kind of look I'm going for on the card, what kind of color combination I'm going for. So, you know, if you want something really bright, you can start with a red or a really hot pink and then go with a really soft yellow or orange or a really soft pink or even a very soft lilac. So it just depends. I would almost like just play with a piece of watercolor paper and just try blending different colors together and see what they look like. And I don't know about you guys, but when I'm doing this kind of thing, I always feel like it doesn't look good until it's done. So I try not to throw in the towel too early because it really does, as things dry, they start to look a little bit more blended. And, you know, as you fill in the different petals, it starts to look more like a flower. So you can see. I know my bracelets are making a lot of noise.
Someone requested zooming in a little more. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, I can zoom in a little bit more. I was requested to zoom out because I wasn't like on the camera, like in the scene. So that makes sense. So here we go. Hopefully you can see this a little bit better. All right. And if I drift and I'm not on camera, just somebody scream at me. So what a day, huh? How's everybody doing on the East Coast with the weather? I hope you guys all made it through. It didn't look like it was really bad, but I don't know. You never know when you watch the news what's what's real and what isn't. So I hope you guys were all okay and made it through okay. Some of you were actually saying the other night when the weather was getting bad that it was just bad rain, that it wasn't too bad. So there we go. So you can kind of see what's happening here, and you've got that nice little bit of shadow going around the outside. I don't know how easy that is to see, but again, I always take pictures of these cards that I make afterwards, and I post them in our Facebook group. So now I know some of you are over on Facebook now, on our Facebook page, because that's where you can actually make comments. But if you join our Facebook group, that's where I always post the pictures afterwards. So you can see how easy this is. I mean, you know, and I like kind of the graphic style of painting this way. It's not, it's not like, oh, it looks absolutely realistic or it's got all the light coming from the right spot. No, I don't do that because I don't know how to do that. But I have fun and I like kind of the look of it. It still looks like watercolor. It's just a different style. And for those of you that are looking for simple watercolor techniques, Lisa Hetrick, who is one of our illustrators, is an amazing watercolorist, but her techniques are very doable. They're very achievable. She teaches in a way that You know, her watercolor is real washy and real watery. It's not, doesn't look realistic. It's more graphic. And I love that style. I am just adding that dark and then pulling up the color into the light. And if it doesn't look like there's enough, I'm going to add a little bit more.
What is that set?
This stamp set is You Make Me Smile. Kind of fun to color this way. Now, I am a colored pencil girl. You guys know that. It's like my first choice. And the reason why I like colored pencil more than I like watercolor is because I personally feel like I have much more control with a pencil, because I can put it exactly where I want it. And then I can take that blending stump with the Gamsol and I can just spread it exactly where I want it. Watercolor moves a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. However, I still really like the finished result, especially when I'm doing it this way, where it's, you know, it's not super, let's see here. Do I have any water left on my block? Let's see if I can get a little water here.
Leslie wants to know if you have professional art training.
No, no, I don't have any training at all. I have, let's see, what training do I have? I was a blackjack dealer in Atlantic City. I have training in that. I also was a cosmetologist. So I owned a few salons several years ago, but they were nail salons. Although I do have my hair license, I never really did a lot of hair. I mostly focused on nails. So I guess that's a little bit of artistic training, because doing nails is very artistic. But I never went to art school or anything like that. I would have loved to. I still think it would be cool to do that, but you know, I definitely need like bifocals. I need something better than bifocals. I need a magnifying glass. Do they have that? Like where?
Trifocals.
No, but do they have a magnifying glass where you can actually like magnify your art?
Quadfocals.
Quadfocals.
Nobody wants to know what casino.
Okay, so I dealt blackjack. What casino did I deal at? Bally's, right? Bally's. And Tom also was a blackjack dealer. And he dealt blackjack at the Sands? Is that where you dealt? Mm-hmm. The Sands. Yep. Okay. So we did that. That was like a fill-in job, because Tom and I think we told you guys this a million times. We played in a band, and there was a little period of time where we were switching from, let me just think here for a second, because I have to look at this a little bit closer. I know parts of this are supposed to be leaves, green. So parts of this are supposed to be, I'm going to make it all blue though, because I'm already in, like I'm committed here to making this all blue now. So we had a band, and we were a duo for a long time. So it was just Tom and I, and we did, you know, we actually played a lot of casinos in Atlantic City. But there was a point where we were adding members to the band, and, you know, we had to rehearse with them, and we had to get really good with them before we could go and perform. So we had to do something for a living. So Tom and I went to blackjack dealer school and we learned to deal blackjack. And we did that while we were putting our band together. So isn't that cool looking? I love how this is coming out. And that says a lot, because like I told you, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's how easy this is, when you don't know what you're doing and you can still make it look good. So if anybody wants to know what this color combination is, it is turquoise green and haze blue. So it's just, you know, add your dark color near the bottom of the petal, like where it would be growing out of the flower. And then pull that color up using your light color. And then go back over that line again with a little bit more of the dark color, and then blend it again with the light color. And that's kind of how you get your blend to look a little bit better. It looks a little bit harsh at first. Now, that's only me. It looks a little bit harsh at first. I mean, you guys might have way more watercolor skills than I do, but I'm doing my best. That's what this should be called, not Stamp and Chat. It should be called I'm doing my best. But yeah, our daughter Alicia has formal art training. She went to actually an art high school. She went to Interlochen Arts Academy in Michigan. And if you're ever in Michigan and you're ever up near the Traverse City area and you can get up to Interlochen Arts Academy, they do shows there, like Broadway shows. And it's honestly like Broadway. I mean, these kids are so amazingly talented. There's kids from all over the world that attend school there. And they have dance majors, and they have music majors, and they have art majors, theater majors, film majors, and pretty amazing
What kind of
to
music
see.
did you play?
What did we play? We played pop music. So, you know, I was doing my best Madonna impersonation and my best Paula Abdul. So mostly pop music. Did a little bit of jazz, but that was Tom. Tom played saxophone and guitar, and so we did a little bit of jazz with the saxophone. And Tom's a very good jazz musician. Okay, so you can see where this is going. Now, when I get to these little tiny areas, I don't work too hard. I just dab color and just blend color because there's just too many little things going on in there, and you don't have to be that precise unless you really want to. Now, if you want to see somebody watercolor beautifully where it looks realistic, you have to see Karen Hightower. She does videos on no-line watercolor. Arjita, who is one of our design team members. She does amazing realistic watercolor. And also Hannah Drapinski, used to be Hannah Schrepfer. She does amazing watercolor that's very realistic. But if you like more of a whimsical watercolor, Lisa Hetrick is amazing. And I am not amazing, but I'm getting by here, and I'm really liking the way it looks. So it's fun. So what else can we talk about tonight, Tom?
Well, they want to know when we're going to sing. They want to know how you got into stamping.
All right. Well, let's answer those questions.
Will Tombos work with this technique?
Tombos will work with this technique, but I would recommend that you scribble the tombow onto like the back of an acrylic block and spritz a little water in it and use it that way, more like a watercolor paint. Just because I feel like these markers have a little bit more water in them than the water-based markers like Tombow, Stampin' Up. I mean, they're beautiful and they do a really nice job, but it's just, it feels a little different to me. So.
What pen are you using to blend?
Well, I'm just using a lighter color marker. So this is the haze blue. So I have turquoise green here and haze blue here. And then I start with the turquoise down at the bottom of the petal, and then I just blend the color up using the lighter color. So you can see I'm going down close to the edge there, and then I'm taking that lighter blue and I'm just
cross-contaminate?
You know, it really doesn't. You can just rub the color off onto a piece of scrap paper, and that little bit of cross-contamination will just kind of brush away. I haven't had any problems with the color really, you know, being a problem and not coming out of the brush at all. And these markers were kind of made to do this. You know, they were kind of made to work together. That's why they don't really need a paintbrush to use them. Oh my gosh, now I'm stuck to the MISTI. Oh my gosh, these bracelets. I'm going to take all the bracelets off. The magnet's stuck to me again. Okay, we're getting there. It still is hard for me to see, though. I definitely want to get like a big magnifying glass to see. Am I revealing too much of my age? So somebody asked how I got into stamping. Well, I got into stamping probably like most of you got into stamping. I remember that a friend of mine had a Stampin' Up! Party, and I got invited to it, and I didn't want to go. I thought, oh, I don't do hobbies. I don't do that kind of thing. And I just didn't want to go, but I thought, you know, she's a good friend, and so maybe I'll just go and see what it's all about. So I went, and they did a little demo and a little card making thing, and it was really fun, but I still didn't really, I don't know. I wasn't thinking of it as a card maker. What I ended up doing was I ended up buying this set of grapes. It had all these grapes and vines, and I bought that, and I thought, what I'm going to do is this will date me, but I'm going to stamp a border around the ceiling of my kitchen. You know, like how all that was really popular back then. People would stencil borders around things. And I thought, well, I'll just stamp grapes. That'll be really cool. And, you know, I left the party, and then I had really little kids at the time. So I got my products, you know, several weeks later, a week later, whenever they closed the party. And I stuck them in a drawer, and I never looked at them again. And then, well, I did look at them again, but not for a really long time. So then I ended up getting invited to another Stampin' Up! Party, probably like a year and a half later. And I thought, oh, not this again. But that time, you know, there's like that moment where you actually, the light bulb goes off and you just get really, really inspired. Well, that was the party. And I just couldn't get enough. I loved making the cards. It was super, super fun. And I ended up buying several things. And then the person that was doing the party said, you know, if you sign up to be a demonstrator, you can get the discount. Well, that sounded really good to me because I wanted everything in the catalog. Does this sound familiar to any of you guys? Like, doesn't this happen to most of us? So I signed up to be a demonstrator, and I actually fell in love with being a demonstrator, and I ended up with quite a few people in my downline. I don't know, maybe like 50 or 60 people. And I earned several of the cruises, and it was really fun. And I really loved the Stampin' Up! Products. I loved the coordinating paper and ink and all the things that they had. And at the time, Stampin' Up! Was telling people that if you were a demonstrator, it was a really good idea to recruit people, because recruiting new people to be demonstrators was a great way to kind of prepare for retirement. So they were really encouraging people to recruit. And I was recruiting like crazy. I had lots of demonstrators under me. And then all of a sudden, they changed their career plan. And then recruiting wasn't what you had to do. Like, you had to sell a lot more. And I had recruited all my best customers away. So I didn't have people to sell to anymore. And other than myself, and I couldn't meet the minimums. So they changed their career plan, and that kind of forced me to change mine. And I remember Tom and I had a vacation. We were actually taking our little trailer down to Florida. And I remember I was sitting on the beach. How do you guys like how this is going? Isn't that fun? Oh, I love it. So Tom and I were going down to Florida, and we were on the beach, and I remember I had my sketchbook, and I drew a chicken, a pig, a cow, and I drew a crab, like with a little pincher, and I drew a lobster kind of popping out of a pot. And I showed Tom and I said, what do you think? Do you think that anybody would be interested in these as stamps? And, you know, I mean, come on, we all like used to fall asleep with the catalog in bed with us. And he said, yeah, it looks a lot like, you know, the style of stuff that in that catalog you're in bed with us every night. And he said, give it a shot and see what happens. So I did. And that is how Gina K Designs was born. They were my first stamps: a cow, a chicken, a pig, a lobster, a crab, and something else, a pelican, something like that. Okay, so I think I have all the flowers done. Now I'm going to start on the leaves. Now this will be stressful, especially because I've already lost one of the caps. Oh, here it is. Okay. So those two colors again are turquoise green and haze blue. Very, very fun combination. All right, so the next combination I'm going to do is going to be, ooh, I don't know if I like that. Let's try, well, let me get my scrap piece here, and we'll see how these look. Let me get this out of the way. I remember Carol Duvall. I used to watch her. Okay, so this is mid-green, and this is yellow-green. Well, that's kind of a fun combination. It's very vibrant. I think I'm going for it. All right, we'll see how it looks. Yikes. Very vibrant. Maybe I shouldn't. Well, we'll see how it goes. All right, I'll start up here with a little bit of this. Yeah, and then Gina K Designs. What year was that, Tom? Do you even remember?
2006.
2006. Wow. 2006. So we've been in business for a while. This is very vibrant. I might cut back on some of the vibrance. I like to just dab up the color a little bit. I think it makes it look a little more textured. It's probably not the right thing to do, but I like doing it. So yeah, so it's been a while. And I remember it was really weird because, let's see if I can put a little water on that and what that will do. Let's soften it a bit.
You probably still have those stamps around somewhere, right?
I think I do. Yeah, I definitely think I do. I must have those stamps somewhere. But I remember that it was probably like 2000 and was it maybe 2009 or 2010? We did a cruise with two other companies, Stamping Bella and Paper Tray. And I remember being on that cruise and just thinking, wow, like I remember wasn't that long ago where I was doing like the Stampin' Up cruise and how things change and kind of cool. Okay, so this is a very, very bright color, but I like it. I'm going to convince myself that I like it. You know, sometimes you just got to go with it. You can't turn back. And again, remember I said that a lot of times when I start, I'm like, ugh, I don't like this, the way it's coming. Ooh, I missed a petal. I don't want to.
There's a lot of confusion over whether your microfiber is damp or dry.
Oh, it's dry. My microfiber cloth is definitely dry. I'm just like blotting up some of the color just to kind of add a little bit of texture, maybe lighten it up a little bit. I have to go back to those other colors though, because I missed a whole petal. See, that's why I need a big magnifying glass, because I can't Yeah, this is completely dry. So let me just go back because that's going to bother me until I fix it. But you see this whole petal here? I need you guys to tell me if I'm missing stuff. Maybe you guys didn't see it either. I love this flower.
Somebody asked if we have demonstrators.
We do not have demonstrators. At first, when I opened my company a long time ago, even before I convinced Tom to quit his job and come and work with me, I thought about having demonstrators. And I know some of the companies out there had demonstrators. They had like a division of their company had demonstrators. You know who had demonstrators at one time, Tom? Unity. Unity Stamp Company. They had a division of their company called, I think it was called Ippity. And they had Ippity demonstrators. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And I was kind of jealous. But we never went in that direction. I have people still ask sometimes, do you ever think about doing demonstrators? But I don't know. I don't think that we could do that just because I have a hard enough time keeping track of like what I'm doing now. I don't know that I could keep track of that. Especially now, it's a different world now. There's, you know, people aren't going out into people's homes right now and doing demonstrations and things, even classes, even some of you wonderful creatives out there that teach classes in your homes. You're probably not doing as much as you used to with COVID, but hopefully that's not going to be forever. We're all praying for that, right? This is a really weird combination of green, but it's growing on me.
Janet won a sewing machine with the big stamp that we had, a contest that we had.
Did you win a Janome sewing machine? I think I remembered giving away a sewing machine. Did I give away a sewing machine? I think so. Wow. Oh, Janet, you've been with me for so long. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So I know I'm talking a lot, and hopefully you guys can kind of see the way I'm coloring here. I'm just doing little streaky lines down near the base of the leaf. My goodness. And then I'm just pulling the color down using this bright, vibrant neon green that I that I didn't give much thought to beforehand, but it's fun.
The color of the greens?
The greens. The greens are, hang on, I don't want this to dry. So let me blot that a bit. The greens are yellow green, which is very vibrant. Rena would like this. It's almost neon. And mid green. Oh my gosh. My bracelet again. Okay. How are we doing with time? Am I taking forever? Oh, I am. I'm taking a long time. Okay, so we're going to go over just a little tonight, guys, and that's okay. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm just following that line, even though it's not really an open line. I'm just kind of making a stem there. And you can do that like along the sides of the leaves if you want, along like that. See, I'm just kind of going next to it because it's not open, so it can't catch the color. We'll just turn this into a card. It won't take very long to do that. Okay. There we go. So those are the days. These are the days, though. These days, you know, we've got to make the best of every day, right? We can't worry about what we can't control. Right now, we can't control a whole lot, but we can control how we react. And so I'm doing the best to try to just enjoy the day, get through, try to be creative, make something every day, and just keep going. That's all we can do. And it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. All right, just a couple little leaves left to color. And again, honestly, I think I'm drawing leaves sometimes because I'm not really sure where these leaves are, but I am doing my best to see. And I think I got it. That is kind of one of the nice things, though, about the embossing powder is it kind of holds your watercolor in the design. So you can kind of like, as you're brushing, your brush kind of just butts up against the line and it doesn't really go too much outside of the line, which is nice. This is kind of fun. You guys have to try this because it's definitely fun and it's not super hard to do, especially when you're not doing it right. Then it's easy. Two more.
Any hints for next week?
Any hints for next week? Well, I was thinking, what do you guys think if we make Tom come on again? And I was thinking it would be fun. I was thinking Tom would be good at this because he probably has a lot of experience with it. I was thinking maybe like shaving cream. What do you guys think of that? Do like a cool tie-dye background with shaving cream and Gina K re-inkers. Would you like to do that, Tom?
Well, sure.
Yeah, that'll be good.
I thought they were asking about the release.
Oh. Oh, what's coming in the release? Well, I can give you one hint. So I know a lot of you guys like the master layouts. We have a master layouts 2 coming. And I definitely have a video coming on how you can mix and match them together to create some really, really cool layouts. And this time, I think our dye company thought we were insane how many I ordered, but I did not want to run out because I know you guys struggled with the last time. We struggled. We didn't have enough. Okay, so let me find my other cap. Here it is. And that is my finished coloring on that. Okay. If I could only buy one kind of marker, which one? Okay, so honestly, if I could only buy either Ziggs or Arteza, I would probably try to get Ziggs because I do really like them. But I would also look at the colors because, you know, I picked this lime green, but Arteza has a beautiful green that goes really nicely with this one. And it would have toned it down quite a bit if I had used that. So I would say look at the colors and pick the colors that you like. And I know that these markers come in big sets, and I did originally buy a big set, but I would say that you don't need a big set. I'm going to cut just a little bit off of the bottom here, just a little bit. I don't want to cut too much of the design. I'm going to cut a little bit off the side, just a little bit. And then I'm going to take this down to 4 3/4. I'm going to take this down to 3 1/2. Okay. So that looks a little bit better, huh? Yeah, so I would see, but doesn't the blue that I shaded, that to me is like the best part. And when I take a picture of it, you're going to be able to see that even better because I know it might be a little bright to see it. So I'm going to mount this onto a black piece and then I'm going to add a greeting. But I would say buy the colors that you like. Maybe buy a light and a dark in each shade. And don't worry about having all the colors because seriously, out of all of these colors, I think I go for the same maybe dozen colors. you know, a nice rainbow in bright colors, and then the kind of coordinating pale versions of those colors for blending. Okay, so now I'm going to put a greeting on this. And that's going to give me a heart attack after all that work, but I'm going to do it. Let me get my MISTI, and we're going to put one of the greetings from this stamp set on here. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need the magnet. Well, let's see. What greeting am I going to use? You make me smile. That's pretty. Hello, friend. I love you for you. How about you make me smile? Would that be good? That'll be good. Okay. All right. There's a hair on it. I feel like Rena. There's always a hair. All right, now this I have to be really careful. First of all, I want to get it straight. And then I want to make sure I'm really pressed up into that corner because, again, this is bumpy paper. At least this is like kind of a scripty greeting. So if it's not perfectly straight, it might not be too obvious. If I get it really crooked, I'll just take a crooked picture and that'll fix that. I'll send it to somebody in my family that doesn't see very well anymore. All right, let me ink this up. If I have to stamp this a second time, I want to make sure that it's in a good position. All right, here we go. Let me get my little rag and really press on there. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to put it on a card base, and then I'm going to show you the other one that I made, and then we're going to be done because it's already 6 minutes after. Okay. All right, let me find a card base for this. I like a nice wide border there. I think that will look really good. Okay, and I'll tape that down. And here's the other one that I did with the roses. So for this background, I actually used a sponge dauber, and I used a little bit of the amalgam ink, the Barely There. And then I used the red, number 20 red, and number 52 bright yellow for this. And I used the same greens for this. So that's just a different version. And again, I would put that on a wide card base like that. And this stamp set is, here it is. I want to show you. It's Rose Bouquet. So it has a nice get well greeting. If you need a get well greeting, it has hello and it has you mean the world to me. So both of these are two different color combinations, two different styles of roses, and just kind of a fun little zig coloring technique. So I hope that helped. I hope that you guys kind of got a little bit of an idea of how I like to color with these. Again, you know, I am not an artist, so I just color so that I kind of think it looks good and I don't worry too much. So, all right. So I do have a closing quote. Now, if you're out there on the internet and you're engaging in conversations that are totally stressing you out, it's time to stop that. I'm not doing that anymore. I was doing that a lot earlier on during, you know, the pandemic and everything that was going on. I was getting in there and I was fighting. I'm trying to step back a little bit. I'm trying to protect my peace, and I hope you guys will consider doing that as well. So don't get mad. Don't get even. Do better, do much better, rise above it all, and become so engulfed in your own success that you forget it ever happened. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I absolutely love you all so much, and I'm so grateful for the time that you give us and spend with us twice a week. We'll be back on Monday, and then next week, Thursday, we have a release. So we're going to go live on Monday, we're going to go live on Wednesday, and then Thursday night, we're going to have our live release party with our illustrators, and we're going to be rolling out some beautiful new stamp sets, some new die sets, and a brand new kit. In the meantime, please stay safe, stay healthy. I love you all so much, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.